grader what she wants to be when she grows up. She can't decide Simone Biles or Taylor Swift, so she's going for enrichment. She says gymnastic dancer, so it's when you dance and sing for part of it, and then you do gymnastics for the other half. So I feel like North Chatham Elementary has their hands full over there, but I feel like we're in good hands with Dr. Jackson. We do have a few minutes for questions. I'll see if I can get my other mic going too.
Well, I think you might know where this is coming from. So I think our messages are on the same point. Both of my kids go to Chatham County School, Superior Harrison and Pollard. We moved from Wake County Schools and been very pleased. My question and thought, and just something for you to take with you, would be if we were to audit those million meals, given my statistics earlier, 70% of nutrition is coming from highly processed foods, would we find the same thing? It's not really something to answer right now, just something to think about. But the other part is if we want our kids to not be hungry, we can't feed them Pop-Tarts for breakfast. The sugar gets absorbed immediately. There's no fiber, there's nothing there, there's no nutrition for their brain to work throughout the day. Yesterday morning I woke up, I made my son a very nice breakfast, eggs, whole fruit, whole vegetables, a fruit smoothie with 0 added sugar. When he got home from school, he told me he went there and got a Pop-Tart. I should have to sign a waiver for him to eat a Pop-Tart with glyphosate, high fructose corn syrup, more sugar than a candy bar when he gets to school. So if we're gonna make our kids smart and athletic, and I believe all these things are happening, I think you guys are doing great work, it starts with the fuel. It starts with the fuel. We have to audit those million meals. We're not giving out free breakfast. We're giving out free candy. So please take that with you. Think about what we're doing. It's easy to give them an avocado over a Pop-Tart. We have so many organic farms here in Chatham County, but we ship in our chicken tenders from probably Illinois somewhere that were made 3 months ago. Please take that with you to your meetings and audit that.
So I won't try to answer that, but I will say, no, I will say that I understand how the system works, and that we either are in the program or we're not. And so I will take that and share that. I mean, I agree with you, but understand that we really get very little choice in the actual menus without additional costs. So if
I'm seeking to understand. I'm not attacking.
Oh, no, and that's what I'm saying to you. It's one of those, I would love to talk about how we do that in a way that's cost effective, because I think that's really, because I'd love to figure out a way to do it.
Okay. I'd love to meet up with you one-on-one.
Yeah, I did, that's perfect. Hey.
Hi, I just wanted to piggyback on that, this was an opportunity to say this, and I didn't mention it, my wife would be most disappointed. And I wouldn't have said it had you not. And I have 2 grandkids at Perry Harrison, and it concerns me on a daily basis, the food that's served. I absolutely think that what we take in our bodies has a real impact on how long we're going to live and how we can function and everything. And I really do think the school system must look, because when my grandsons come home and I talk to them and I ask them what they ate, it just upsets me. So, again, I'm a huge supporter of the school. I was a former chair of Chatham Education Foundation. I support it absolutely. But there's so many issues that we deal with as educators and as a community, I'll focus us all on that. And one of the most important things is what we consider.
Thank you, David. And let me say this to you guys. I don't see it as not supporting the school. These are things we have to talk about. So, and that's why I come. It's important. This is important, and it's important to you. So don't feel like you have to qualify. I'm good. I'm good. Trust me. I made it through snow days. I'm good. I'm good.
Thanks for being here, Dr. Jackson. Help us understand the impacts of cuts to the DOE, and maybe part of this is how we can, buy better food. But help us understand that as a local community. If we cut those federal dollars, how does that really hit you guys?
Yes, sir. Right now, we get approximately 9. It depends on the year, and I'm taking out the infusion that we got for the pandemic. Chatham County Schools gets about $9 to $11 million. That's the impact. The impact of that would deal with our food program, because that's a federally run program. our most at-risk kids, meaning I held up an example of Virginia Cross being an example of outstanding work. Well, that school gets additional resources because they qualify for Title I funds, to the tune of somewhere around $300,000 to $400,000 additional money that goes to that school to maybe hire tutors and reading specialists and things like that. So it would impact our kids who come to school where English is not their first language, and so we have to educate them in that space, and we have to have people who can help them through that transition of going from their home language into what could become now an additional order, English being the official language. So we have to do that. We can't just have them sit there and say, oh, you don't speak English, and until you speak English, we won't teach you. So we have to have a way to transition them from where they are to where we want them to be. Then a big part of this, it will impact our ability to offer CTE programs. What are CTE programs? Career and Technical Education Programs. That's Workforce Development, Huskins Act. All of those federal programs that are supported by the Department of Education, meaning, so if you go, those of you who, I'll put it in language that some of us may understand, shop, electric, the things that everybody asks me, do we still offer? Those things will be compromised if we are to lose those resources. Another piece of that will be teacher support for our beginning teachers. Title II is our funds for to support teacher development. So where we have national board certified teachers, we have teachers who are brand new teachers who need a mentor and support. How we support those programs is generally funded through those federal grant funds. And then here's the biggest one. If you have a child that has special needs, okay, exceptional education, 90% of that budget comes from the federal government. So yes, there will be an impact. Yes, it will be immediate if those funds are taken away. And yes, it will impact just about every person sitting in this room.
Are we doing an adequate job in educating our children on the importance of a democracy and what a democracy is?
That's a loaded question. I don't know if we did that with the adults. And we really are. I think we are, people always say, do we still teach civics? Yes. We still teach civics. We still teach, every kid still, and I think we do a better job today than we did before. I think there's just such a large echo chamber now of so many people with opinions that now, before we got, most of us learned, let me guess, I'm just a bill, I'm only a bill. And we thought that's a high education, right? That's a high standard. And now kids are really getting very detailed depth of knowledge around, those guiding documents and founding fathers and all of those kinds of things. I think we're doing a better job. I just think there's just more opportunity for discourse around it, and the conversation is so much broader than it's ever been, with so many people with so many different opinions. And so now, whereas we were given a very clear structure around, here are the founding documents, here are the founding fathers, here are those things that make us who we are around democracy. Now we get, here are the founding fathers, here, now what do you think? So I think we do a better job of providing the information to kids. I think we have to become more comfortable with the fact that kids now, through the use of social media and all those kinds of things, they get to synthesize that information differently than ever before. But we still offer the same courses that probably most of you took. Civics, U.S. history, world history, and then those students are tested on that every year. They make it through, they pass. In fact, North Carolina has we can now get what's called a citizenship seal where they can actually take the test, a test to get a special seal on diplomas, just like they've done in other things. So yeah, we still do it. We grow through it. I believe we have to behave it and do more in that regard with our kids and with our schools in terms of just helping our kids understand where we are with democracy. Yes.
So we know it's all about funding and programs, food, everything. If there is a deficit, if there is a problem, or if things are cut, how do we as citizens help? How do we jump in and make changes? I know that everything's very compartmentalized. You can't use this fund for that program. Can you explain that a little bit to us so that we can understand and where we can help?
Well, I think the big piece is advocacy is our responsibility as citizens to advocate. And really, to me, when it comes to resources, I just have a belief. It's about priorities. If we say that our kids are the most important asset, I hear that all the time. Our kids are most important, then in fact, we have to prioritize advocating for their needs. Now, where do you advocate? I try to explain to people that anything that the federal and state government does not provide is pushed to the local level, meaning the county commissioners, and they can't. Realistically, the county commissioners are only responsible for building buildings and funding the operations of school systems. And they've been asked to do so many other things. Anytime the state, and we have wonderful county commissioners, they have stepped in. I think we need more advocacy at the state and federal levels in some kind of organized way to say, these things are important to us in Chatham. Don't forget. We had a legislative breakfast just yesterday with the county where our delegation is there, they're listening, and we're saying, we need this to happen in Raleigh. They're introducing those bills, they're doing those kinds of things, but they need you to then say to them that that's okay. They need you to then say, this is unacceptable for us in Chatham. They need you to say, we are doing our share, we need you to do your share. What I find though is we fight the battle locally. And we end up beating up the people who are doing the most to try to fill the gap. Our county commissioners last year, the state, in terms of teacher salaries, they have a lot of work to do in that area. I'm not going to be pejorative. Our county commissioners stepped in and they tried to fill that gap. But with that comes a more of a burden on the local taxpayer. And so we have to be very honest and very fair about that and how we approach that and understand that it is a shared responsibility between, education is a shared responsibility. It's the state's responsibility. North Carolina is one of the few states that has in their constitution that the kids are entitled to a free, public, fair education and a funded education. And North Carolina is one of the few states, the word I was looking for, sound basic education is in our state constitution. I want to make sure I quote that right. And so they have to then do that, and we have to hold them accountable for that. But we also have to recognize that it can't be absorbed at the state level, at the local level. So any of those, anywhere, any space that you can advocate, educate people on the facts. I don't do emotion. I like to do fact. I like to do strategy. Emotion is not going to win. Strategy wins. Okay?
We have one more question, Nick, and then we have to go ahead.
Hey, Dr. Jackson, thank you so much. I'm really impressed with 39 years in public education.
37, but if you want to give me 2, the state will take
Sorry.
those and add to my retirement.
37 is amazing. I really appreciate it. And I've got a 5-year-old that'll be attending Chatham Grove coming up. And we're very happy about it. I also want to commend, I saw in 2023 there was a CCS administrative building that had solar on it. And I was hoping to advocate for continuing that trend. Solar can cost as low, I think the average is 3.18 per watt, and the average electric bill is significantly more than that, as much as 14 cents per watt. There's a lot of great programs. There's NC Solar Schools Initiative. There's the federal direct pay now, which is 30% back. There's the Duke Solar Power Plan. There's NC Green Power, which will buy renewable energy credits. And I was amazed by the growth that you're talking about. So there's new facilities coming on. There's an opportunity to save costs on those new facilities with either solar or energy efficiency that would reduce the cost of energy throughout the lifetime of the building. There's awesome companies that are local, like Nimble Energy, that can help reduce the energy costs. Is that, and I would also say that falls into two of the priorities that I saw, the facilities, number 4, but also the curriculum, because students that are exposed to solar are learning about it and would potentially go into that field. And there's a lot of work. And I also know that the CTE programs that you were talking about could fit into that solar training as well. Is that a prioritization? How can we support you in that? And what is the strategic plan for that going forward?
So I want to say 2 things. One, I won't take credit for the solar. Dan LaMontagne, our former manager, insisted upon it, and I'm glad he did. And in our new schools at Seaford, I think correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know, geothermal heat, we're doing all of that kind of stuff. So we want to be, that's a LEED certified building, I believe. That's our goal, to try to do it as environmentally friendly as we possibly can, and it gets into cost. What I found though about solar is that there's this lag time. We have to build it. We have to build it to the regular standards and then wait, and then we can go into that. So we're not yet reaping the benefits of it. We will.
Yes.
So it's one, and so we have to be willing to understand that that's a investment and not a quick fix for it. In terms of programming, we're already working through with some of those renewable energy types. For one of the programs, when I heard that VinFest, the possibility of VinFest, I began exploring what would it cost us to stand up a EVT program. And when I got sticker shock, I'm just telling you, to do these kinds of things, they're investments. It's going to cost us money up front. I believe it's important, and I think there are people who will help us. But for the sustainability of those kinds of programs, we have to have partners. So if you know partners who are willing to come to the table, like I'm going to tell you, let me say this out loud. Wolfspeed has been an amazing partner in terms of already acclimating our students to what they do, how they do it, the importance of what they do. I didn't know. I've learned more about wafers and all that stuff. And to me, that's a cracker. But they were so very intentional about building relationships with our kids and what we do and how they do it, and explaining that they've become partners. And then our biggest partner in this work right now is the community college. Mm-hmm. A lot of times they can get the investment at the community college that we can't get for the K-12 space, and so we share the space. So if you hear of any discussions about decoupling K-12 from the community college, and I believe there is some happening in Raleigh, I think you need to be very attuned to that, because that impacts workforce. Where we can't provide programs for our kids, the community college becomes our bridge. Okay? So I need us to be very intentional about that, and it's not just there is a connection there. Our early college students start their college careers. Our dual enrollment kids take those courses. So right now, a lot of, like at the Moore Center, the biotech and all that, we are directly connected in with the community college. So those are our partners. I don't know if I answered your question. We're very interested in talking about what we have. Do we have those programs now? No. Do we have investments that would say we would have them soon? No, we don't have the commitments for those. We've got to talk about who those partners will be down the road. I'm more than interested in hearing about ideas for how it's gonna, how we could do it.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I follow up?
All right. Yep, I think that.
Sorry,
she said
I have an iPad to do